Joining me now is Research Fellow at the Institute of Public Affairs, Saxon Davidson. Saxon, Peter Dutton has spruiked a policy that would force the banks to slash their serviceability buffers for home loans by a third, as well as direct them to ease capital rules for borrowers with small deposits. Analysis conducted by Canstar estimates that such measures would allow the average person to borrow up to $40,000 more than they otherwise would. But Canstar says that the person who is most likely to benefit from this structural change is the person selling the property, not the person taking on more debt. It's a drop in the ocean. That's a direct quote there. Saxon, housing is going to be a huge issue. What do you make of the policies of the two major parties?
Well, the policies of the two major parties are pretty poor, actually. The main issue with housing is affordability, and the biggest lever that the federal parties have to pull this lever is immigration. Demand for housing is far too high, and it is lifting housing and rent prices for everybody. Now, this policy from Peter Dutton is a positive one and will allow people to enter the market that otherwise couldn't. But without significant cuts to migration, demand for housing is simply only going to rise further and further up.
What about the policy of allowing people to access their super to buy a home? This seems to be a philosophical point for the Liberals, where they say it's your money, you should be able to access it to do with as you wish. Yep. What do you think about that? Because it's certainly something Labor do not back.
Well, obviously, Labor wouldn't back taking any money out of the superannuation funds. I'm a big supporter of this policy because ultimately superannuation does act as a double taxation on top of your income tax. And being able to use your own money to purchase a home for you to be able to build your life savings around, like most Australians do, shouldn't be as outlandish a policy as some people in the political class make it out to be.
Absolutely. It seems mad that it's particularly when you're investing in property, and we've seen historically how much that has gone up in value. So why deprive people of the opportunity? Now, Labor has said that it will urge the Fair Work Commission to back above inflation pay rises for 2.9 million low-paid workers in a move that will no doubt spark a political war between the party and businesses across the country. Saxon, is Labor backing a winning plan here? This is certainly going to be popular, but will it be inflationary?
It's absolutely going to be inflationary. Any arbitrary increase to wages, which is not met with equivalent increase to productivity, is going to be naturally inflationary, which, is to the detriment of the entire population, particularly low-paid workers. And, the other thing that's been missing out of this conversation is the effect this is going to have on businesses, particularly small and medium enterprises.
Exactly.
Small and medium enterprises are being burdened at a double rate at the moment due to record energy prices and also by a record amount of red tape at both the federal and the state level. If this is going to be, if they're going to be burdened even more by an increased labour cost, that just means more businesses are going to go under, which means that a lot of those workers who Labor supposedly support with this policy shift are just going to lose their jobs, and no one wants that.
Well, the fear here is that this is, as you explained, going to be particularly bad for lower income earners because it's going to be inflationary.
Yep.
But it's probably going to be most attractive because they're going to end up with some more money in their pocket initially before that inflation takes it all away. So I think politically it's very clever from Labor. Now, finally, before you go, Saxon, let's talk about Victoria. The Allen government is set to ink the most expensive contract of the Suburban rail loop. This is going to be billions of dollars more. They're going to do this despite Peter Dutton threatening to cut federal funding for the project if he wins. So we could be looking, Saxon, at an $11.5 billion black hole in this project. What is the business case for the Suburban rail loop?
There simply isn't one. This is a boondoggle.
We have spent billions, and we're about to spend many, many billions more.
Yes.
And there's no business case?
No, there's no business case for this project.
Wow.
And it's just a continuation of the storied history of this Labor government, which is now 11 years old, of budget blowouts, project delays, and unfulfilled promises, all three of which were seen with the most recently cancelled and repurposed now Glasgow Commonwealth Games. And we've seen with project after project is there's simply more delays, more budget blowouts. And this 11.2 budget hole that is now in this project is probably only going to get larger, considering that we know based on history what the results will be the longer this project goes on.
Saxon, Davidson, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.